Hi, Michelle.
Michelle, what day did you send us the monthly reports?
Let me look.
I'm trying to find it on my iPad. I'm going through and,
We're live.
July 8th, I
got
sent
it,
the
got
report.
it. Okay, I found it. Live, okay. If that's the case, it is 8 o'clock. Who do we have on the screen? I see Steve, who else is?
Yep.
Is Dennis on
This
there?
is Eric. I'm here.
Okay. But is Dennis
And
Murray
Michelle's
on?
there.
I'm sorry, is Dennis Murray on?
Let me have a look. We have Eric, Michelle, Steve, Trevor. No, Dennis is not on.
Okay. Hey, the important person, the president of the commission's here, so hey, the hell with Dennis. Okay, call the meeting to order. I don't have an agenda. I didn't see that get sent to us, so I guess I'll make it up.
There's one here.
And I didn't see minutes of the previous meeting, is that correct? Is that a correct statement?
Mr. Chairman, they're all on the desk down there. There's the agenda
Okay.
and the minutes.
Okay, so I didn't pick it up. I didn't realize it was up front, my fault. Okay, meeting called to order. How about, can I have a motion to approve the June 19th minutes? Wait, first of all, do we have a quorum? I think because Dick and then Watt can vote for the commissioners, too?
I think I would vote in Murray's place, perhaps.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I believe that's correct, and you've got, you would have a quorum at that point, would you not?
I think Mr. Waddington
Okay.
can step into that, okay, role on a temporary basis.
Welcome, Wad.
Yeah,
Knows right where to sit.
there you go. This guy's name on it or something?
Mr. President.
Oh, again, we've got the minutes of June 19th. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, new business. 2020 budget.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to dive in? This is Michelle.
Michelle's asking if you want her to proceed.
Yeah, because there's, yeah, proceed. I'm sorry. These damn masks, I mean, it just. Huh. Yeah, Michelle, we're having a hard time hearing you in here. Even Mr. Waddington.
Good morning.
Both of us old guys, we don't know about Greg.
I, on the other hand, don't have a bit of problem.
I'm the youngest one of the four here. That makes me feel young, Michelle.
Okay.
You believe that? Of the four here,
Michelle,
I am the youngest.
Go on, I think you need to speak into whatever microphone so that we can hear you. Go for it.
Sure. Can you hear me?
That's perfect. Because if you lean the other way, you fade.
Right.
Okay.
This way we won't see your best side.
Thank you. So just to touch on the reports that were sent out for the end of June, the general fund cash balance was about $3.6 million, and that's nearly identical to where we ended June of 2019. So we've done everything we can with expenditures. As you guys know, expenditures were down 5% compared to June of 2019. The revenue is also down about 7% compared to June of 2019. We did have CARES Act money, which is from the federal government, that trickled down through the state and eventually through the local government. We received $504,918. The decision was made that we are splitting those funds between the police and fire departments to help offset wages that were already budgeted this year. There's, we've lost some positions through attrition at the moment, but these funds are just going to help with the wages, and we're not looking to bring back people at the moment for those departments. We began the year in January with 253 full-time employees. At this point, at the end of June, we were down to 237 full-time employees. So that's a total of being down 16 full-time employees for the first 6 months of the year. That's obviously helping with our expenditures at the moment. And we're looking to see how that goes through the end of the year. We have some positions, like I said, through attrition that we haven't backfilled, but we're waiting to see what the financials are to see what positions we can bring back, if any, this year. You guys
Obviously-
wanted to,
Obviously, we lost 3 high-level paid individuals, and it's going to take a little while to replace them, and obviously Eric's not here, so that's going to help.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Okay, now I see your lovely face. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. I can speak to that. So the law director position, we've already posted, and that one, we are looking at interim options. Trevor and I hope to have something to recommend to the commission for an interim option by the end of next week. He'll be with us for 2 more weeks total. And then we will fill that position, but my hope is maybe we can have some savings even once we do fill the position. Very similarly with Angie leaving, she was a highly paid director. We are not going to fill that as a director position. We are going to have that report through Matt Lasko, and so I think we'll find some significant savings there. And Nicole, based on having been here and her success, was probably higher paid than what we will likely replace her with. So I do think you'll see some additional savings on those positions. And then I think that's a trend, as we replace these positions, the ones that we find are critical to replace, or through improving budget circumstances that we deem are able to be replaced, we will try to identify some savings. Now, I know Michelle will tell you, although with the employees leaving on their own, it is not as prevalent, but we certainly have to worry about additional carrying costs that we have with payouts and everything else. And I think she's going to talk a little bit about payroll stabilization later, so she can get into that. A lot of savings achieved with these attritions or ultimately retirements are going to be really in next year's budget, because we're going to have to pay a lot out as they walk out the door this year. But if we can hold those positions out of next year's budget, the savings start to add up and get a little bit bigger than what we're seeing this year.
Again, thank goodness for that payroll stabilization fund. Now, today is the 17th, or what day is today?
17th.
Today's the day we have that extra payroll, is correct, Michelle?
that is correct. So I'll jump in with that payroll stabilization figure. So the payroll today was $390,823 that will be coming away from our payroll stabilization fund. At this point, the estimated payouts that we have for employees that are leaving yet this year is an additional $371,000. So with those two figures, we look to have a cash balance still in the payroll stabilization of about $278,000. So again, kudos to creating that fund and having those funds available for a time like this. It's obviously coming in handy at the moment.
And Mr. Waddington asked me a question earlier about, how 2008 and how this compared.
Comparables, I guess, if I can do a two-part question. The retirements at the last meeting, when I wrote my notes down, at the August meeting, the payouts for the retirees for this year was going to be discussed. And then the second point was, how do we compare to 2008? I went through that, and that was rock bottom, no money. And
In 2008, if we would have had this happen, where we had the extra payroll and the 300,000 plus payout, we couldn't have done it.
Right.
It's that simple. I mean, it would have depleted us, because we only had like $1.5 million in cash, and I could be off $100,000. But fortunately, through the good times, we were able to get a nice base there, and that's all we have to do is hope that things open up and continue on. And that July 15th, when everybody's filing, hopefully income tax is not as bad as we could hopefully it's not our worst nightmare. How's that? So, now, when will you get those dollars, Michelle?
So July 15th was the new filing deadline, which was Wednesday.
Is now
Right.
joining.
So those dollars will trickle in beginning in August, but the majority of them we will see in September, because everything that we collect, that Rita collects on our behalf in July, we begin to see in August. So it's just the second half of July that they're going to be receiving funds that we'll receive again in August. I did pull the numbers for July. So everything that they brought in June, we receive in July, with our last payment being July 15th from Rita for the month of July. We are down compared to June of last year by $1.2 million. Now, a lot of that is over $1 million is going back to net profit returns. So again, with those just being due this week, we'll begin to see those funds, later. I can look at the reports. We won't receive the funds until August and later. So I'm keeping an eye on those net profit returns to see where we're going to end up this year. At the moment, our withholding tax is actually still up, and this is reporting through the end of June. So we're up in withholding tax, which is a great, signal that our economy is still strong. We have people still working, which is great. Obviously, Cedar Point just got up and back up and running, so we'll see withholding dollars again coming in from Cedar Point and other other businesses that are affected and thrive when Cedar Point thrives. So looking at all these things, at the end of June, we're holding our own again, but we still know that we have tough times ahead. July's going to look rough, because we're used to seeing about, $1.2 million come in from income tax in July, where, we didn't see that this year. So we were just over about $700,000 that we received in July. So going forward for the rest of this year, it's a matter of keeping a close eye on our income tax receipts. We're going to continue our conversations with Cedar Point to figure out, admissions tax and those kind of things throughout the end of the year.
Michelle,
Michelle,
how did you book the $504,000? Is that Dennis Murray or Dan Manchin that's DM? Up there. Who's on, Dennis Murray or Dan Manchin? It says DM up there.
Dennis, I've been on.
It's on.
Yeah, this is Dennis.
Am I reading that wrong, or?
That's Mont.
So one of the, either Dennis Murray or Dan Manchin's on.
it looks like Dennis Murray joined.
Okay, so again, if it was Dan Manchin, we've gone through a whole configuration, how we had to report everything for our auditors at the hospital. How have our auditors and how are you booking the 504,000?
So we were required to set up a separate fund to receive
Right.
those dollars. So
Right.
we set up our separate fund, and then it's a journal entry where we can reduce our expenditures in the police department and the fire department accordingly for the wages that we already had booked against the general fund.
So it's part of our balance sheet, and then we disperse it to where we need to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The last thing that I wanted to touch on, because I had some questions, was about the balances in the water and sewer funds. So when you look at those balances, our unexpended balance is our cash balance of what we have available. Our outstanding encumbrances are basically our purchase orders, things that we have promised for the rest of this year, or any commitments that we've made. So that's where our ending balance comes into play. And I had some people just looking at the ending balance where it looks drastically different from ending balances in the previous years. But the difference is when you look at that encumbrance column. Since we passed the budget in March, beginning in April, I've had the department heads cut their purchase orders so we know what's promised. It keeps a better eye on the books, what we have already committed versus, the available cash balance. And then, of course, gives us the ending cash balance. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. If you look at that unexpended balance, water funds were at $5.1 million and sewer were at $6.9 million. And both of those numbers are greater than where we were at the same time period in 2019. So there's nothing alarming there. The only difference is the purchase orders are being done and committed at the time that it goes through commission or the department heads make a commitment to a purchase.
Good. Good.
So that's all I have. Does anyone have any
Okay,
specific
there's
questions on
one
anything?
other report that I'm trying to get to here.
Okay.
You always love my, Mr. Murray asked you to do, Dennis, are you on now? I can't hear.
Anybody here?
Pardon?
I can hear him faintly, but I can't, I just hear his voice, but I can't make out what he's saying.
It's not like you're there. I'm sorry, Dennis.
Yeah, sorry, I did give Dick and Eric a question. Perhaps they can do it.
Oh, I heard you a little better there, Dennis. I don't know what you did, if it was any different.
I've been on the whole time, I'm not sure why.
Michelle was emailed.
I'm looking, Michelle, for your email you sent out to us that had the breakdown that Mr. Murray requested for all the departments.
Sure. So Mr. Murray did request to break out the general fund expenditures by department, which I did. The two departments that we're seeing the greatest savings at the moment are the police and fire departments. Some of that is because of vacant positions. The other item to note is that, we've reduced travel and training for the moment because of, the COVID pandemic. So that comes into play as far as saving us some dollars on the expenditures side. The only department that saw an increase is the administrative support department, which is a large department. It handles the portion of the general fund expenditures for a lot of things, such as our property taxes, our insurance claims, submerged land leases, and the transfer dollars also come out of that department over to other departments as needed. So the breakdown, still we're saving over $500,000 in expenditures this year in 2020 versus 2019.
Dennis, did you have any comments in regards to that or specific questions?
I do have another question. Can you hear me now, Al?
Just can't hear him.
Dennis,
I can hear you, Dennis. I can make out what you're saying, so I can relay it to the group. If you say it, I can probably make it out.
Okay.
I
Thank
don't know. Do you hear him?
I can't hear nothing.
That was helpful. The other question that I had was, I know you've been working with an outside firm on our overall budget situation and perhaps looking at being able to provide a projection of the balance of this next. And I wondered if you could confirm that.
Yeah, if I could, through the chair to the finance committee, and Michelle, please jump in at any time. But what Dennis said is he knows that we received a grant to work with a financial firm. I believe their name is PMF, to help do some forecasting based on COVID and its impact on the city. We have been working very closely with them, and we've been working through some drafts. What we hope to have by the end of this month or early next month is a 5-year forecast that we can share with the finance committee and the city commission that gives our best estimate. And again, it's an estimate still at this point because this year's revenues and next year's revenues in particular are speculative still because we're not sure what income, lodging, admissions will do. But we will give our best 5-year forecast of what our revenue will be in 2020 through 2025, in addition to the various options of what we can do with expenditures to try to meet the sort of new normal. Because the one challenge will be, and you'll see this in more detail when we bring it, we're expecting a big drop in revenue this year, a pretty significant drop in revenue next year, and then at least for 3 more years after that, sluggish revenues. And so we're really going to have to keep our costs down or flat if possible, based on, and that is not starting from where we started this year, but from the cuts that we've already made this year will almost certainly have to be carried through next year. And it isn't as if we think we can return to normal in 2022, and we'll probably be spending down the vast majority of that reserve between this year and next year. And so we're going to have some difficult choices to make, or the commission and the finance committee. The staff will do our best to present you with the best information available as to what that's impact on service levels might be and different options that we have. But Michelle, if you want to add anything to that, but our hope is between late July and mid-August to have that finalized and actually bring those consultants in for a call to present that information directly to the city commission and hopefully the finance committee as well.
Because in August, Michelle, we should have some idea where the city income tax is going? Or will we not know that till the September meeting? Help me in timing.
August 14th of our next distribution or our last distribution from Rita in August.
So on our 821 meeting, we should have some idea what the net profit tax was, or some idea.
Absolutely. Yep.
When,
Go ahead, Riggs.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, when, Michelle, is the next income tax report come in from Cedar Fair? What would call it the first one, almost.
Are you talking admission tax or income tax?
Admissions tax.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're
Yeah,
on the same
right.
page here.
And I've just have been doing a head count, or I drive through the parking lot every day, and I have a pretty good idea of how many cars are parked there every day, only because I have to drive through there now. They forced me to drive. Our road's been rerouted, and I know how
They
many.
forced you.
I know how many. I don't want to say, because I don't want to say how many cars I think are there, but I will off camera. And I just wondered when we will start getting a report.
Mr. Tomasulo, can you address that, again, not asking for any privileged information. Have you had a chance to talk with Eric and Michelle yet, any of the team over there, to give them some kind of a, well, there's a very cloudy crystal ball that Mr. Murray and I know about at Civista Bank. We can't see anything in there either. So how's your cloudy crystal ball?
Ours is probably more cloudy, but I will say that Eric and I and Michelle and Dave Hoffman are talking next Tuesday.
Okay.
Based on what, the team at Cedar Point put together, what they think the rest of the year is going to look like. So we'll be able to at least give them some guidance of, what percent-ish, we could be expecting for, the July payment through December. And so we'll give some clarity there. Again, it's all up in the air. Don't know exactly how attendance is going to come in and what portion is going to be season pass and which is going to be, single day stuff.
Right.
But at least I think we have an approximation at least to get us relatively close. So that at least we're not, from a city perspective, not well overestimating what we think the number is going to be. So like I said, we're talking next Tuesday, I think at 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning.
If your crystal ball becomes real clear, can I borrow it?
I'm going to Vegas and I'll invite you along with me.
Yeah, and I want to make it very clear. I don't know who's season pass, so I just approximate the number of cars. That's all.
Sure.
Hey, you're not supposed to drive without your shoes on.
Well, I'm gonna just quit talking for a while.
Hey.
Nice to see you.
Okay. Anybody on the committee have any questions of either Eric or Michelle? Or any comments? Mr. Waddington?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Brady? Dan? And Dennis, do you have any other comments? And again, for whatever reason, you're not coming through here in the chambers.
Yeah, well, I think maybe I fixed that now. I hope, but my questions were answered, and I'm very appreciative of the collaboration with Cedar Fair and with all the members of the committee and the staff working so hard to get through these difficult issues. I'm still very concerned about our ability to provide the essential level of services that we need to provide for our community, but I'm growing more confident with each day that it looks as though, there is a path forward. It's going to be a really difficult path, but I'm especially looking forward to the report either later this month or next month. I want to dive into that as soon as possible to see if that gives us some indications of what steps we might be able to take.
I would agree with that, Dennis. Anything? Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady? Mr. Munson? No. Strong? Anything else, Eric or Michelle?
No, just have a great weekend, everyone. Michelle?
First of all,
I'm good.
Go ahead, please.
I'm
Go
good.
ahead.
I appreciate everyone's input and thoughts as we go through this tough year.
Again, the difference between 8 and now is we did some forward planning, and thank God we did. So, yes. Then if not, our next meeting is August 21st. I think August 21st and September 18th. Not that every meeting's not critical, but I think that's going to start hopefully taking that crystal ball and getting it a little bit clearer. Yes. If there's no other comments, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I know it's time out of your day, but I felt it was important that we stay on top of this so that we're looking forward and not reacting. So, if nothing else, everybody have a great weekend and stay cool.
Likewise.
All right.